And ultimately that's where my anxiety always used to lie when going to a gig and being so nervous was like, am I going to manage with the equipment? Do I understand the equipment? What if the person before me is playing something so far out from what I understand? How am I going to come in?
We're here with Kevin Fraser. And how are you going today, Kevin? What's happening? How are you feeling?
I'm really good. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, nice and early for you. So up and at 'em. And today we wanted to know a little bit about the DJing side of you and kind of how you started. So I might just kick off with the question: do you remember maybe your first DJ equipment?
Wow, my first DJ equipment. Yeah, so that would have been when I was 16 years old. And my father finally allowed me to sell some stuff in the garage. And then I bought what was, I think Jebsen. Yes, Jebsen was the name. That's a memory. And it was basically not like your traditional CDJ setup that you have now, like your Pioneer 2000s, for example. That would have been a dream. I had one unit that took a CD in each side and only a CD. And I had to make that work.
Yeah, right. Okay. And was it like, so you say, was it all in one and it had some like trays?
Yeah, you kind of had like a mixer in the middle, and then but that was just like for bass, mids, and highs, and then you'd have a crossfader, and that would literally be it. And I had a CD channel on the left and a CD channel on the right, and they had these tiny little jog wheels that could hardly take a few fingers, but they didn't do much for the pitch bend. It was just to get a song crossfaded onto another song.
Sounds like one of those like old mobile DJ setups, like a rack mounted thing. But oh man, and do you remember what made you want to start DJing? So like you go to your dad and you say, I want to sell some stuff in the garage. Like what prompted you to do that?
I think in the beginning, it was getting to a stage where I was halfway through my high school career, and my mom and dad were kind of like, eventually we're gonna pull back your pocket money altogether, and you have to have a part-time job. So get yourself thinking about what you want to do. And obviously, I went into the traditional like hospitality route kind of thing, and I hated it. I just couldn't be there. But then I realized that I had this huge archive of music. I had this huge library that was just sitting at home because I collected CDs at the time. And I was asked to kind of do music at a party once. And I remember taking two DVD players. So this was obviously before I got my first equipment, but I took two DVD players and an amplifier and a couple of home theater speakers. And I had so much fun that I thought, oh, maybe if I took it a bit more seriously, it could actually pay me some money.
Awesome.
That's how it started.
Do you remember when you landed? What was the first gig? Did you, or maybe like, do you remember your first paid gig as a DJ?
Yeah, like I bought my equipment, then I kind of sat with it for a while. So like I'd sold the things at the garage, sat with the money for a while. Then I was like, okay, what do I do? Like I've got to like try and promote myself. And that would have been in like 2005, 2006. So at the time, Facebook and all this social media wasn't really like a huge thing yet, like it is today. So I kind of, being in school, just told my friends, and I made these little poster card things, and I was like, I called myself SpinDoctor, and I used to like hand them out, and I got interest for like, how do you call it, like special birthdays, like your 16th and 18th. So my first gigs were among my own peers at their 16th birthday parties. I had a wave of 16ths.
Do you remember, maybe this might be a bit harder, but like your first big mistake? Did you ever make any big mess ups, like blow up any speakers, or someone spilled something all over your gear? Maybe someone got injured or something? Or you had a
Yeah, there were a few actually, because it was such a huge learning curve. I remember when at the time we had the classic disco setup. So I'd have the two speakers, I'd have my CD mixer, and then I'd have those old school like traffic light disco lights, as well as a little fog machine.
Yeah.
So in random order, one of the mistakes I had was I used to blast the fog machine when I'd reach a nice part of the song on a dance floor or the evening, and I let the fog machine run dry out of liquid,
Mm.
so this horrible kind of motor smell entered the room, which was my fault. And then just from a technical point of view, I think I had a lot of mistakes for a couple of years in terms of mixing, and I'd like to blame that on prehistoric equipment, but it's also just yeah. So it's a learning curve, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, and then fast forward. So I guess you kept the name SpinDoctor, right? You kept that name still till today. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all my friends started calling me Spin as a name for short, like a nickname, and yeah, that kind of stuck all the way to the end.
So is that in Australia? Because I guess spin in Australia is the term for like tobacco when you mix, like mixing weed with.
That's so true. Yeah. No, I kept the name, especially my first couple of years, and then DJing in Australia, I used the same alias.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Spin Doctor. So I guess a big part of your career now, it's about the comedy. So and it seemed to and did those things ever cross over, or how do they intertwine at all, those two versions of yourself, or are they separate?
I think to a certain degree they did because when I when I kind of started doing more festivals and club gigs as I got a bit older, and I suppose more flagship gigs for me,
Hmm.
I was on bigger stages, so the performance style kind of started changing, and I found myself using the microphone a little bit more,
Hmm.
and that was so it's almost like being a DJ and MC at the same time. But then for my own being, I kind of was lacking this deeper emotional connection, I think, with an audience that extended beyond just music.
Hmm.
So when I went into comedy, that was obviously very satisfying for me because it's just what I wanted to do. But
Hmm.
it was the same kind of format that overlapped into comedy with the emotional thing. It's still the same kind of journey,
Yeah.
only one's music, one's comedy.
Interesting. So it's like almost like so you were DJing first, and then you got an eye like that vibe, that feel when you connect with the crowd, and I guess that's one of the most addictive as a DJ when you really captivate an audience and connect with a crowd. And it seems like that was a gateway for you, and you kind of said, "Well, I want to connect on the next level, like in a conversational level." Is that kind of
Exactly.
yeah?
And it was still very weird for me though, because when I did my very first comedy gig, I was like, right, you've got this, you know what it's like to be a bit nervous when going on stage,
Hmm.
and so on. But then when I actually went on stage, and then everybody kind of went quiet in the audience, and then now it's like, right, jokes. It's just so different to walking on stage than having people dancing already and
You've got
kind of ready to go.
right? Like there's no music in the background, like to kind of break the silence. It's just you and the crowd.
Exactly. Exactly. So it was a very weird feeling. But then, I kind of used my style with DJing to bring that musical element into my comedy shows itself.
And I love how you said that, the journey and you kind of showed us the graph of starting here and then maybe bringing the expectations up and then maybe through a middle, and then finally to the climax and bringing them back down. And I guess that's just one of the ways. Is that the way you think about your shows as well? Do you have a specific kind of not recipe, but something like that?
Yeah, I do have a structure to it, I guess. I like to kind of come on with a strong sort of intro, as one would with the DJ world too. I kind of find it fun to do that and create an energy from the get go. And then you kind of structure it in such a way that it has a peak and a bit of a fall, I think. So, but in comedy, instead of it would be more of like a massive punchline, an absolute point of hilarity, I suppose, and then it drops off a bit into something more sentimental. That's just because it's my style. And then I always end on a high note so that people don't always leave just going, oh, that was funny, but they leave like kind of pumped as well.
Ready for the next challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's fast forward a little bit and pivot. Where do you reckon you'll be in about 5 years? Like, this is a bit of a tough one, but where do you see yourself going with your comedy, with your DJing in that time?
Well, it is pretty tricky when you're in the middle of a pandemic to even try and argue whether we're going to get back on stage like we used to. But I think that at least the vision and the intention has always been to continuously grow a digital network and my own sort of space online. Working with brands now as well is certainly an avenue. But I've always wanted to kind of steer towards something in the TV side of things, just because it's a opportunity to challenge yourself, not just in comedy but in other styles of performance as well. I really like that idea, and I've also toyed with the idea of like some form of like presenting and being in a studio environment where you can bounce off another celebrity or interview someone and that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's where I'm going.
So it seems like you like to kind of move towards challenges, to set yourself kind of these challenges and kind of go for it, put yourself in those situations. Because having done some of the stuff obviously before, you've done some TV, you're doing a lot of comedy, you've done the DJing. That's very cool. And one question I also like to kind of ask is, if you were a new DJ, or if you were to give advice to someone who is just starting to DJ, or they've just got their first equipment, or they're thinking about equipment, is there anything that you can kind of give them from your experience that could possibly help them on their journey forward?
Yeah. What I'd say, first and foremost, obviously make sure you have, you don't have to have the best equipment out there, but you don't have to have the worst. But if you have something in the middle that you can actually practice proper mixing off of, then do that and learn to mix musically and in key, and learn what it means to mix in key and learn the harmonic table and understand it, because it's actually a beautiful process. And when you can do that, you can really pat yourself on the back, because you can apply it to any genre of music. And I mean, to this day, I haven't learned or mastered anything on vinyl, which would have been before my time, but it is my intention to, before I die, to actually master that, because I find vinyl a beautiful process. So as much as the digital space is great and you can sync music and you can just do it fast, I think if you have that technical, or what would be then known as old school kind of style, waxed, then you'd have a lot more confidence when performing. And ultimately that's where my anxiety always used to lie when going to a gig and being so nervous, was like, am I going to manage with the equipment? Do I understand the equipment? What if the person before me is playing something so far out from what I understand? How am I going to come in? And if you're not someone who's able to pick up a microphone and just kind of break the ice or do a changeover, then you have to have that ability down. And when you can get that, then you can focus more intently on reading the crowd and understanding what they want.
So it's kind of about learning some fundamental skills like mixing in key, and that's become more apparent. Like now, that's kind of a standard. You need to learn that, which is great, and people should want to learn that, because music is that fundamental part. And then learning different equipment, potentially having some backup plans, and then moving on to things like reading the crowd, the audience, and kind of stepping up as you go. All right, cool.
I think also, like with that whole process, I mean, the average DJ set is an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. Again, if you're a trance DJ, for example, it would be a little bit longer. But to understand that flow, like you spoke of earlier, where you have a rise and a fall, and to make it a nice set, that just comes with practice. And I know that a lot of people today are just, it's all about like, get out there, get the hit out. It's kind of like, TikTok, where you just like 5 seconds laughter and then you're scrolling and scrolling. But if you can understand that, you can actually create more methodic sets as well.
It's so true. Like, we live in that instant gratification time, and if people aren't good at something instantly, it's very discouraging because we have such fast access to everything. So important, and we all struggle, and that's also why I love to ask people about their struggling stories, because everyone's felt underwhelmed on the dance, like in front of an audience, and everyone's had a bomb, and I mean, comedians know better than anyone about bombing, and it's just part of the game.
Exactly. And I mean, I've got stuck into that with comedy as well, where you're creating amazing stuff, or you're mixing amazing music, but then you're so focused on, also focus too much on what people might think or what they want to hear or what they want to laugh at, and then you kind of get stuck in that rut of like trying to create something with so much pressure. So you also got to balance that with, have fun, like have a drink, relax, but then don't take it to the next level.
Yeah, and realize everyone makes mistakes. So it's about getting,
Exactly.
not about the form. All right, awesome, bro. Well, we're gonna try to keep this short, and I kind of just want to give you the space to say where people can find you. I'll just add the caveat that I fucking love watching your videos, bro. It's such a good to have that smile just plastered on my face. And you just put up some of your mixes and stuff for free on your website, I noticed. But where can people find you?
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok as well, trying to do my thing at Kevin Fraser Official. And then on Twitter, Kevin Fraser SA. I don't really use Twitter too much, though. I'm not a politician, so stay away from that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, cool. All right, excellent, man. Well, keep doing your thing. Keep making us laugh, and we'll be in touch soon, and we'll follow up in the 5 years and see how you did.
See if we can get reality. Thanks, man.
All right.